needed to see. I needed to see that tomb for myself. I haven't been back here since that Friday, which was a couple of weeks ago. Seems like a lifetime. But I haven't been back here, and this tomb has been calling me. And when Peter told me that he and most of the boys were going to go up to Galilee to do some fishing, clear their heads, he said, my answer was, fine, go ahead. Go. Take all the time you need. Because I had to clear my own head. Try to make sense of everything that I had seen. This would give me a chance to come out here and see the tomb without someone looking over my shoulder. I could see for myself. It's not that I didn't believe Mary and the other women, although they did come across as a little hysterical. And it's not that I doubted Peter or Mark or even Thomas, although the stories they told were just fantastic. I mean, I believed them, basically. But it worried me, the more I thought about it, it worried me that maybe I believed them because I wanted so hard or so much to believe what they were saying. And that made me doubt. And that just spun off into this whole head game that wouldn't let me sleep at night. I knew I should believe. But I doubted because I wanted to believe. Those ideas just kind of chased around in my head. And I realized the only way I was going to figure this out for myself was to come out and see the tomb. It was the only way I could prove to myself whether or not I could believe these stories about Jesus rising from the dead. I know, when I say it, I hear it. It sounds crazy. People don't just raise up from the dead. As I said, I wanted to believe with every beat of my heart and breath in my lungs. I wanted to believe what I had been told. But then my brain would say, come on, get serious. You know the truth. It was a bitter truth that I knew. Two weeks ago, on that Bloody Friday, when Nicodemus and I took our Lord down from the cross, when we washed him, when we bathed his body, and the blood just sluiced off. And we wrapped him in linen as though we were bandaging his wounds, but really we were just trying to hold him together and make him presentable. And then we brought the body here and we laid it in this tomb, in that shelf back there. I was the one who took this little downy feather and I put it on his upper lip. It was tradition. And I was the one who stood there in the flickering lamplight inside the tomb, and I watched that feather for any sign of movement. If there was any breath at all that would move that feather. And I watched, and I waited, and I prayed that it would move. looking back now, I know that it would not have been a mercy for Jesus to still be alive, as torn apart as he was, but still I prayed for life. I prayed for breath. I prayed for a miracle. And there was nothing. No hint of movement. Not even a hint of a shallow breath. So when Nicodemus and I rolled that stone across the doorway, we knew that he was dead. Beyond the shadow of a doubt, we knew that Jesus was dead, and I still know to this day that he was dead. So just a couple of days later, when somebody said, "Guess what? He's alive." Even if it was someone I trusted, I knew I would need more than just their word. I would need some positive proof. And since Jesus was not taking the time to appear to me, that meant I needed to see that the tomb was empty. And honestly, you go back right to the beginning. First thing I wanted to do was make sure that they were looking at the right tomb. Because in truth, I don't know whose tomb that is. There was a lot of confusion that day. There was a lot of heartbreak. There was a lot of grief. And the sun was getting lower and lower in the sky. And we were rushing to do what we needed to do for Jesus. So we took him to the first empty tomb we could find. And I promised myself, and I promised Nicodemus, who's a little goody two-shoes, I said, we'll take care of it. I will pay whoever's tomb this is when we find out. And he said, fine. We laid him in the tomb and we closed the door, we closed that rock, knowing that at least at the end of that day, our master would have a place to sleep the sleep of death, undisturbed. He would have some dignity. So when Mary and the other women came back on that Sunday to tell us that Jesus had risen, the tomb was empty. Glory be. Most of the disciples thought they were mad with grief. I just thought, I'll bet they went to the wrong tomb. So when Peter asked me which tomb the master had been laid in, I gave him very good directions. I told him exactly where it was. And then he came back with the same story. And that really made me start to wonder. But if we're being honest, and I know I can trust you, if we're being honest, in the heat of that moment, I was actually a little bit afraid to go back and check for myself. Because if it was a mistake, I didn't want to be the one to go to Peter and the other disciples and say, guys, you were in the wrong place. He's still there. I didn't want to be the one to go to Mary and the other women and say, hey, the one you were mourning and the one you were celebrating, well, he's still dead. So in that moment, at least it was more pleasant, even if it was a bit more confusing, to believe that maybe he had risen from the dead. I still knew I had to check myself. And with the disciples up north, I had my chance. I came here, and now I know this is the right tomb. This is where we put him. Still don't know whose it was. It's not his anymore. There was no mistake. I know this because the execution place where the cross was, it's right there. And the garden is there. And I remember these plants. I remember thinking it was such a nice place for our master. So this is where we put him. And now I come and I look, and it's empty. Now I'm left to wonder what that means. Maybe it's as simple as just a reminder that death isn't the end. Maybe it's a reminder that it is through serving others that we truly achieve life. I think Jesus would certainly agree with that. Or maybe it's just a statement of principle that when good faces evil, good might suffer, good might be set back, but in the end, good will always win. Or maybe it's just as simple as a sign. A massive, unmistakable sign that God's grace cannot be overcome even by the darkness of death. The darkness of the tomb. All I know is tomb's empty. For the first time in weeks, my heart is full. That's news worth sharing. I think maybe I'll take a trip up to Galilee and see how the fish are biting.